like sunshine, like springtime, like something's in the water and I'm taking a deep dive. I'm feeling so weightless, like I'm gonna make it, and nothing in the universe can take this. I can see it clearly now, nothing gonna bring me down. I got my head held high, I'm on my way, and I'm following the signs to my happy place. I'm walking in the light of a brand new day, and I'm right where I belong, in my happy place. I got my head held high, I'm on my way, and I'm following the signs to my happy place. I'm walking in the light of a brand new day, and I'm right where I belong, in my happy place. And I'm right where I belong, in my happy place. And I'm right where I belong, in my happy place.
Hello, welcome to the NUS Yonglou Lin School of Medicine Healthy Longevity webinar series. Thanks for joining us tonight. We have another exciting discussion on investing in the longevity space coming up. But before that, I want to tell you about a recent paper in the field. This is from described by Sharmila Kumar in the lab, and it's talking about the aging transcriptome and cellular landscape of the human lung in the context of COVID-19.
Thank you, Brian. Hello, everyone. As Brian mentioned, I'm working in his lab as an RA. Today, I'm going to speak about the relevance of aging in SARS-CoV-2. The paper I'm referring to is from Nature Communications. The title of the paper is Aging Transcriptome and Cellular Landscape of Human Lungs about SARS-CoV-2. The research has been done in Yale University in School of Medicine by Rayan D. Chow and his colleague Medha Majid and Sid Chen. It has been speculated that age is one of the main risk factors contributing to the severe coronavirus disease, which commonly known as the COVID-19. To understand the underlying reasons, Dr. Rayan Chow and his team had integrated the transcriptional features and cellular landscape of aging human lungs. Findings suggest that age above 80 had more than 20 times the risk of COVID-19 related death compared to people age of 50 or lesser. In children is generally less severe than in adults, as many children are asymptomatic or experiencing mild symptoms. However, it's been emphasized that younger patients can still contract this disease with severe symptoms. COVID-19 mortality progressively increases over the spectrum of human lifespan. A total of 578 lungs RNA-seq profiles are being collected from different donors from the age of 20 to 79, and they were annotated for their sex of both male and female and their smoking status. The author analyzed that the SARS-CoV-2 protein and found that the AC2 receptor expression are significantly associated with the age. The AC2 receptor is a host receptor for the virus, which facilitates the infection by binding the spike protein. The AC2 receptor has a specific binding place where the spike protein can bind to it and induce the infection. AC2 receptors on the cell surface generally increases as the aging takes place. This makes the aged population more vulnerable to the disease. The further analysis is conducted to identify the age-associated genes in human lungs. They discovered that 436 genes were upregulated and 346 genes found to be decreased in expression with age. Comparing these age-associated genes with SARS-CoV-2 proteins, 14 genes were identified to be interacting with each other. With the help of bioinformatic research, the authors further assessed the SARS-CoV-2 infection alters the expression of the lungs age-associated genes. which involve the own RNA profiling to be compared with the human SARS-CoV-2 proteins. The in vitro experiments suggest that some of the age up and age down regulated genes are affected by the SARS-CoV-2 infection. The authors have further identified the age-associated genes are linked with the COVID-19 severity. Understanding the age-associated shift of the gene could contribute to the important dimension of the relationship between age and the risk of severe disease in COVID-19 patients. Single-cell RNA-seq data suggests that the CXCL gene is upregulated with the response to COVID-19. The CXCL1 activates the potent neutrophil, which is highly expressed in the airway epithelial population cells. This is one of the conditions that observed in patients that died from COVID-19. Data also suggests that the age-associated genes are frequently changed in patients with severe COVID-19, further identifying the specific cell types in the lungs that normally express these genes. The authors also found that the genes that cause the risk factors for COVID-19 mortality in older patients. This finding could be used to study the mechanism of the genes which plays a role in developing the COVID-19 severe symptoms. In summary, this work can not only help the aging population to be less vulnerable to COVID-19, but it also helps in making the SARS-CoV symptoms to be less severe for all age groups. It also illuminates avenues for further studies on the relationship between aging and COVID-19. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharmila. I think that it's worth pointing out that there's another webinar series sponsored by NUS called COVID-19 Updates from Singapore. There are numerous shows already available online if you want to go back and look at the old shows, and they're still doing one show a month. It's pretty interesting to hear the Singapore perspective on COVID because most people consider the country to have done quite well in dealing with the pandemic. Moving on to aging though, first of all, I want to remind you to use the Q&A function if you have questions. And we have Max tonight who will take the questions and ask them later in the show. We're very lucky to have Tobias Reichmuth on tonight, who is a founding partner of Maximon. So this is a group that specializes in building longevity companies. So they're investors in the space. I won't go through the entire description of what they do. I'll let Tobias tell you. I'll just say that over the past decade, Tobias has been active in the clean tech and the crypto space, and he's now moving into the longevity sector. We'll ask him why later on if he doesn't talk about that during his seminar. His topic tonight is Hacking Aging, what we can learn from big biomedical data regarding the future. Actually, that title is not your title, is it? That is the title from last week. So we're putting you on the spot, Tobias. You have to give last week's talk. So I'll let you give the title and we'll go into the talk. Sorry about that.
No worries.
At least I caught it.
Yes, I was a bit shocked, but anyway, it's great to hear. Thanks a lot for the invitation, Brian. Let me also share my screen here. So my title basically is Maximon, that's the name of our company builder, or how to build businesses in and bring capital to longevity. Longevity, you all know what longevity is, so I'm not going to read what is written here. I think important is am I and are we as a company active in this space? I truly believe that this is a topic which is relevant for everybody, every single individual on this planet. And therefore, it's a huge business opportunity and also a huge responsibility. And science has moved a lot. And me being an entrepreneur, I learned about longevity for the first time, I think, in 2016, when I attended Singularity University in Palo Alto, California. And I found this topic extremely interesting. And not being a bioscientist, it took me some time to read in to understand what science is doing and how fast it's moving here. And a year ago, together with some partners, I have decided to really engage here and to be an entrepreneur myself and help other entrepreneurs building their companies in the space of longevity. And that's why we have built a company builder called Maximon. And now maybe here I explain a bit more what is a company builder. A company builder is a platform basically. And on this platform, entrepreneurs can build their own companies with the help of us basically. Why should they do it? It reduces basically their time to market, and it helps them to really focus on the product. We take care of fundraising. We take care of the legal structure. We also bring the team members together if the team is not yet complete. You know, we offer workspace, even though in this virtual time, maybe that's not even the most important thing. But very importantly, we also build an ecosystem where founders basically can engage with others. And I think this is really important. Research, and you see that the source at the end of the slide here as well, research also suggests that companies, at least for first-time founders, started by a professional company builder are more successful than standalones. And the founders are mostly less diluted when they come to a venture round, when they do it together with, you know, let's say professional entrepreneurs like we are, instead of trying it on their own. What is the focus? What we do in Maximon? Basically, in longevity allows for two entrepreneurial focus. One is, you know, products which promote longevity. Yeah, that can be from supplements to genetical engineering, whatever. But then on the other side, we also have to see is what is longevity meaning for us as a society in the mid and long term. And there you see suddenly a lot of services needed and a lot of opportunities to build interesting products for super active and healthy seniors. Maybe we don't even call them seniors anymore then, but they're just active participants, even though they might be 80, 90 years old. This will change a lot of our landscape, both you know, for society, but also for the economy. And I believe there you can build a lot of companies. Maximon is headquartered in Switzerland. However, we have a global business focus. We work together with entrepreneurs from around the world. And that's also making me even more happy that today we speak, well, in front of a global audience, but of course, mostly in front of a Singaporean audience. I have close ties with Singapore. Two of my other companies I have built already have offices there. So we also plan to work together on the longevity field with Singapore here. And even this makes me much more grateful for the invitation of Brian tonight. So how does it look from a structural point? What is a company builder doing here, and who gets what when you build a company? So basically, the team will always get the lion's share. 50% of each startup we build goes to the team. And you know, you cannot do it with much less because you want to get the best people on board, and they need to have a significant upside. Important to say, this 50% will not be diluted until we do a Series A venture round, meaning until this company is then really taking up significant capital, that's double-digit millions, but until then, the team will not be diluted. On the other side, we have Maximon, us, the company builder. You know, we really start the whole thing from scratch. We bring together the people. We also bring the initial funding together here. And last but not least, we really work in these companies. It's not that we just say, hey, good luck, go on. But we basically, you know, try to make it as waterproof as possible before a company is started. So we put a lot of time and work into the analytics before really the company is founded. We validate the business idea, and then we continue supporting the team operational together with our company architects for normally 2 to 3 years. That's why we get 25%. And then the last 25% is, as always, going to some investors. And here we have the Maximon Co-Investment Fund, Longevity Co-Investment Fund, that is, which gets 25% of each startup. And this fund basically finances the startup up to a Series A venture round. And so I think this formula is proven, it works, and it's also very fair and motivational for all the parties here. And it's also a very good alignment of interest. You know, Maximon has been launched only some months ago. However, our team has been working in stealth before that. That's why we already have 2 companies on the start right now. One is Avia, the other is Rejuvenai. Rejuvenai is still a working title though. Avia is in the longevity supplement field. I think what differentiates us a bit from other supplement companies here and also other longevity players is that we really work evidence-based. Yeah? And we look is what is scientifically proven. We work on a direct-to-consumer model base, so we really sell to those interested. We work on own formulations. We work on patents together with universities. Yeah, so that's a bit what we do here. Rejuvenate, on the other side, is a company giving a hand to those who want to reach longevity on a personalized basis. Because what we all know is we are different, yeah, female, male, different blood groups, different age, different weight, different circumstances of life. And this also means that not everybody has the same path to longevity. And here we basically really offer individualized approaches. And at the same time, we collect a lot of data. And this data then allows us to produce basically tailor-made longevity advice for the bigger masses and also make it affordable. Now, what you see here is the team. Some names might be known to those of you who are in the longevity field active. I think important here is once again to underline that we work with scientists together. My doctor title doesn't come, unfortunately, from bioscience. It comes from business administration. Nevertheless, we have a very, very strong background here with, Eva, Colin, Aubrey from the scientific side. We have Ashish as our chief scientific officer. And I think this is really, really important in this field of longevity. You need to know your stuff here, and you need to understand what longevity from a scientific base is about. We also do a longevity investors conference, next one coming up on the 27th of September. Brian hopefully will be speaking there, as many other big players in the longevity industry will, and you're all very much invited. But now let's go to a bit more the, how shall I say, the hardcore parts of being an entrepreneur. Let me tell you from my experience, I built companies since I'm a student. I could exit some, and some others were very successful, and some others were not so successful. What did I learn? So it's not easy to be an entrepreneur. It's not the easy solution if you want to be a millionaire. But what you definitely can see is it's super rewarding. You learn a lot. It's a lot of fun. You meet great people. And to me, myself, it's much more rewarding than doing a corporate career. But don't mistake it. It's not easy. And also understand that most presentations you see from entrepreneurs are those who were successful. There is also a lot of entrepreneurs who worked their ass off and were not successful. And you need to understand that success doesn't come automatically. It's really a tough game, but it can be a very, very rewarding one, not only financially, but also because of, what you learn for yourself, how you develop as a person. What do people say when they build a company? I hear it very often. I'm also an investor in Lion's Den, that's Shark Tank of Switzerland here. So it's an investor show on TV, and we have teams presenting to us. And often they say, a unique idea. To be honest, a unique idea is far less important than having a great team. It's also less important than doing a good execution. And at the end of the day, also your product is much more important than the idea. Uniqueness sometimes can be rather tough because you're the first one. You need to really introduce something to the market. If you're number 2 or 3, you still can do a great job. Google was not number 1 in the search engines. Yeah, so it's about team and execution. What you also hear is that, you get an email saying, hey, I'm a great founder, and Tobias, would you be interested to invest in my company? And I don't get a business plan. And then I'm being sent an NDA and I should sign something. And of course, I never do that. A business idea, should not be stealth. You should talk to as many people as you can about, because you will get support, you will get constructive feedback and criticism, and you also might find partners and investors. So talk about your business idea. And this is definitely also true in the field of longevity. My first mistake when I built my first company, I spent about 8 weeks, in fact, on wondering how I should call my company and, what fonts I should use for my letterheads and so on. It's not relevant. The name of the company and the fonts of your writing, and maybe also the colors of your corporate identity can always be changed. Don't lose time on that. Focus on the product to reduce time to market. I mean, you see here in the example, you can call your company like a fruit apple, even if you produce a computer. Focus on your product. What I often see is that people say, hey, I want business plans, and I'm even enlisted in more business plans, and I have done so and so many coachings. I don't say that this is wrong. Yeah, but it's not a good startup because you have a business plan. You are a good entrepreneur if you have a product in the market which is sold. And if you can reduce time to this, again, that's essential. So yes, participate in a business plan, but don't focus on them. And if you have a great idea, you should also find investors without too many business plan contests. So, startups which have done more than 2 business plans contests, for me, are already kind of suspicious. Yeah, then another thing is people do surveys. Entrepreneurs often love surveys, and they expect people to tell the entrepreneur what they want. Well, this is very difficult. If you want to be an innovator, you cannot expect the audience to tell you what they want. As Steve Jobs said it, don't expect your customers to tell you what they need, tell them what they need. And I think Apple has been very successful with that. And then another thing, which is something I totally understand. So it's lonely. You want to build a company and you are alone in your garage or in your office. It would be much nicer to have a team around you. Now, the problem is on day one, maybe you cannot afford to pay high salaries and get a team. So you think you should need to get co-founders. That's not wrong. However, you don't need a co-founder to build the company from day one. Co-founders can come in later as well. And the good thing is, if they come in later, you don't have to give them 50% of your company because it's already there. It's funded already, whatever. Yeah. So my advice is build it as soon as you want to be an entrepreneur and you have the idea, move ahead. And then step by step, you take the right team members in. They don't have to be your friends. And also they don't have to be lawyers. That's an experience I also made. Lawyers are great, but you can hire them later on. You don't need them necessarily in the founding team because they're devil's advocates. And devil's advocates are also good, but you don't want them in your founder team because in your founder team, you want to have optimists that you need to tackle all the hurdles coming along the way, but you don't have to prepare for all of them at the beginning because that would slow you down too much. Debt equity, yeah. And again, a mistake I have done myself. At the beginning, when you build a company, you are just super happy that anybody gives you money. Yeah? They trust you and say, hey, it's cool what you do. Here, I give you 10K, 100K, whatever it is. And this money is important. It allows you to build the company. However, if you can focus on money which can give you more than just, the capital, and it should open doors, a network, whatever, advice. Yeah. So the friends, family, and fools are helpful, but they also can become a burden later on. In information duties you have. If they have too many stakes, they might want to interact with your company when you don't need it anymore. So rather focus on the right equity than take the first offers available. Another thing I have heard sometimes is that a founder and CEO says, well, I will hire a top salesperson. That does simply not work at the beginning. You can do this when your brand is established and when you have the money to pay a high salary to a great sales. But at the beginning, the founder or the founders always need to sell themselves. You have to take the phone in your hand. It just doesn't work differently. Industry know-how, relevant when you build a company. And here, for example, the longevity space. So, if you have a lot of startuppers and that's the main reason why you're a great team, well, maybe it's not. Yeah. You should focus on talent who understands the market and your customers. That's relevant. Yeah? The startup advice you can get from the outside, maybe from an investor, business angels. Maybe you build an advisory board or so. But what you need to have is industry knowledge in your team early on. Another one, of course, experienced, hire slow, fire fast. Very, very difficult. You have to be tough sometimes and very nice people. But at the end of the day, if somebody is not meeting your expectations and is not up for the job, this will not change over the next 6 months. That's why hire slow, focus on getting the right talent on board, test again and again, get references, do case studies, whatever it is. And then if it doesn't work, fire fast. You do this person a favor because, just keeping somebody another 6 to 12 months in the company and it's not working will not be good for the CV of that employee. So hire slow, fire fast, very important rule. Money. Yes, you need money and you do a business plan. Now, what you also can say is the average business plan, as conservative it might be, normally it takes double as long and it costs double as much. And therefore, if you can raise a bit more money than you think you need, and most likely you will need it, Why? You have your focus on the business then. If you have to, you know, every 3-4 months think about where to raise more money, you cannot focus on your core business. And that will not really add to your success. So if you have the possibility, raise a bit more than you need. All in. I mean, of course, you need time to think about what you want to do. And of course, you should analyze the market and your industry. But once you decide to be an entrepreneur, go all in. You cannot say, hey, I'm a 50% entrepreneur and expect any investor to give you money. I mean, me as an investor, I want you to have all skin in the game here. If you tell me that you still have a job at UBS or, you know, whatever company that might be, to make sure that you have a minimal income, well, if you have investors, you will be able to pay yourself a minimal income as a founder. And that will not be much, but it will be enough to survive. And I want you to focus 100% with everything you have on the startup you build. Competition is not bad. Some startups might say, hey, there is a competitor, so I give up. That's too tough. Well, it's not bad. I mean, you know, if there is a competitor, it means that your business idea probably is not total crap. And if the market is growing, then 2 or 3 are fine. Yeah. So if you're early, that's great. You need to do a good job or maybe a better job than others, but competition should not make you stop from your business plan. Modesty. Funny wise, not really what you need as an entrepreneur. Yeah. Some people say fake it till you make it. Maybe that's said a bit too much, but you need to be super optimistic. Yeah. At the beginning, there is not much around. And if you tell, you know, be it investors or consumers that, well, it's difficult, we are a bit slow, we are not totally sure of, and let's see, we hope for the best. That's very difficult to motivate somebody to buy your product or invest in your company. So, you know, you need to be optimistic. Yeah. And once you are successful, you can then be modest again, but modesty at the beginning in entrepreneurship is difficult. Credibility is super important. You know, you're a first-time entrepreneur. Where do you get credibility from? Nobody knows you yet. Yeah. And here name dropping helps. And, you know, ask a professor like Brian to join your advisory board. I mean, of course, he will not do it everywhere, but in great companies and with great entrepreneurs, he might. And this really helps you gaining credibility. And it will not cost you a fortune. It costs you something. These people don't do it for free. But what I have experienced, it really helps you gaining speed, having the right people supporting you with their name, not on the photo, but really with their name, and also exchanging, you know, with you, helping with their experience. That really is a big asset. So I would always look around for, you know, who has credibility in the field you want to be active in, and try to motivate those people to, you know, join the team with you in an advisory capacity or something alike. If you build a company in order to get rich, there is probably easier ways to make money. Yeah. And so again, this entrepreneurship thing, yes, it can make you rich, but not automatically, and it's quite a long way. I would say it's probably the wrong motivation if this is the only one. You should believe in your industry. You should somehow think that this is something important you do. For me, this was in the past renewable energy and climate change. I built my first big company there, and now it's longevity. I really believe in it. I want to do something for my parents, for myself, for all my friends. I want to, you know, provide them with a longer health span if possible. So that's my motivation here. And of course, if you're successful, money comes as well. But maybe it's the wrong motivation if it's the only one. Start as early as you can. Your opportunity cost will go up fast. You know, the longer you're in a corporate world and have a nice salary, the more you will amass costs, you know, for the nice rent of your apartment, the lease of your Porsche, or the great holidays you get used to. The earlier you start, the better. So I would not lose too much time. And to be very honest, I do not think that a lot of corporate experience will help you tremendously much being an entrepreneur. This brings me already to the end from the advice I can give you from my own experience of now 20 years of being an entrepreneur. As I said at the beginning, most people think, wow, you know, this guy is successful. That must have been an easy one. He was lucky, right timing. Well, it is not. Almost no entrepreneur runs to success in a straight line. It's a lot of failure. You just need to get up once more than you fall. With this, thank you very much. and happy to take questions. And should you be interested, and have a great business idea, you see here the contact details of Maximon. Also, if you want to join a startup company in the field of longevity, don't hesitate contacting us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tobias. I hope a lot of academic scientists are watching this, because they often have ideas that could lead to startup companies, but I find that so many of them really don't know what they don't know about how to do that. And so you see lots of great ideas sort of never make it to the private sector because they just don't have the right advice and support to get there. So it's great that, you're this presentation, but also that groups like you are trying to help people do that. And, maybe I'll start at the beginning. We'll come back to that. So you've been in you're always into these new futuristic sectors, clean energy, crypto, longevity now. What do you see in common? Is there something in common between them that, I don't mean in terms of changing the world, they all have that sort of motivation, but in terms of how the companies get started, how they become successful when you go into a new space as opposed to developing a company in an old sector?
Yeah, two things are common. One is a great thing and the other one is a problem. And I start with the great thing here. You find extremely good talent with new topics. Yeah? So when I started Suzy Partners, that's a clean infrastructure fund manager in 2009, you could motivate people to change jobs from investment banking and join forces to fight climate change. So what we see here in longevity, it's the same again. And then in 2016, 17 in crypto, with the first boom and people start to understand blockchain, it was also the same. So I think this is something I'm extremely happy and grateful for, is that longevity is a topic which is coming up now. Many people haven't heard about it yet, but when they hear about it, motivates them. And we find great talent. So that's something I can see in all those innovation topics happening again. And now to the problem, since you are innovative, you're early. There is a resistance of many people somehow built in to, they are a bit afraid of innovation. They're afraid of change. You need to tell them, hey, this might be positive, and no, it will not hurt you. Yeah. And I have seen it even with my own parents. I said to them, hey, I really learned a lot about some supplements, be it precursors for NAD+ or resveratrol, and maybe fasting is a good idea. And the first reaction was a bit like, yeah, but I'm feeling okay how I am. I said, yeah, but it could even be better, And, believe me, we have seen this. Well, with crypto, we still see it today. So some people still say, cryptocurrency snowball system, something like that. Oh, that's not true. And so you have to overcome this. And, that's what I said in my presentation. You need to gain credibility. You need to find those early movers who already have a name to support your idea somehow, or they come from the outside. And, for example, when we built Suzy Partners, we were able to convince some big shots, the CEO of Deutsche Telekom, the CEO of the Swiss Postal Organization, to join the board of a very, very small fund manager. And this made some pension fund managers thinking, wow, if these guys join, probably they are here to stay, and probably that's serious business. And I see this happening now again. So it's great that we see now in longevity some big names moving in and really, wanting to help. And it's also great that, you have a scientific background with big name universities, be it NUS or Harvard or ETH in Switzerland. And so this helps a lot there.
Yeah, I think it's, it's funny because some of us in the aging field have been talking about this concept forever. It seems like, I joke with people that I've been using the same introduction slides for the last 15 years. And it's always about changing the mindset from one of doing sick care to one of doing real health care and keeping people healthy. And I think you're entirely right, in saying that a lot of people are afraid of change and innovation. And you can definitely see that in the healthcare sector, which is largely designed on making money off treating sick people. It's a real change of pace to try to tell them we're going to keep people from getting sick in the first place. And, sorry?
Paradigm shift which needs to happen.
Yeah. At the core, I think everybody understands this, and sees it as a good thing, but it's really hard to turn that ship, when it's such a big, ship moving in a direction. I think that, but what's great is that there's so many companies and investors that have come into the aging space. And so I still don't think the global government sector funding for aging research is anywhere near where it needs to be. So the academics are still struggling to get money in most countries. But on the private side now, there's so many companies that are coming on. There are biotech companies starting everywhere, and then there are investors in a lot of different places. So, do you feel like, how fast is this field going to mature? I mean, right now it seems like the Wild West a little bit. How fast are we going to get to, products that everybody has in their home, and companies making profits and funds doing well? What's the future?
Yeah. Look, I mean, it's a twofold thing probably. The moonshots, they will take longer. And as with moonshots project, normally there is disappointment in between. It's this kind of the Gardner curve you probably have heard of.
Mm-hmm.
At the beginning, people present the great idea and say, hey, with the CRISPR-Cas method, we can do this and that. And aging, the problem is solved, just give us some years. And then instead of some years, it takes some more years.
Yeah.
You start to lose trust and maybe interest in these moonshots. And, then the valley of tears comes, and maybe then suddenly something starts to work, and very, very fast or exponentially fast, you get the results and it moves up. So that's the one side. The other side, I think, is the lower hanging fruits where you can do something now. For example, the supplement business we started via. There is solutions today, they're workable, they have a certain evidence base, and yes, you can make money. So I would say as an investor, maybe even as an entrepreneur, you have to balance that a little bit. So if you're only out for the moonshot project, you need to be terribly well funded or have some very strong believers at your side who just walk this whole 10 years with you or something like that. And we at Maximon, what we do is we combine that a bit. We say, hey, we have some projects where we expect them to gain unicorn status in 5 to 7 years. I mean, yes, that's an expectation. It's an aim. And then there are some others where we say, well, we absolutely know that we will not sell anything with this project in the next 10 years. But if it works out, if the clinical trials are positive, for example, then it's going to be enormous. Yeah. So I would say it's a bit of a mixture. One thing what you can definitely state, there is one hell of money out there. I think it never has been more money available for entrepreneurs as it is today. So it's not difficult to get funding if you have a good team and a good business plan.
Yeah, I mean, people in our field, if we tried to talk to VCs or even big pharma companies 10 years ago, we couldn't get a free lunch. and now, it's there are people talking about investing, all the time. So I think that's a great step for the field. And it sounds like you chose this partly for impact reasons, right? You see this as a future of healthcare and how to really help people live longer, healthier lives, but it's a balance, as you said, it's balanced with something that can be profitable as well. So it seems like for you, it's really a balance of both things when you look at investing.
Yeah, I mean, there's saying, doing well by doing good. And this is what we did already on the renewable energy side, and we're doing it now on the longevity side. So I think we provide solutions to people to make their life better and happier. And nobody wants to get 100 and spend the time from 70 till 100 with an aching back and whatever other problems. Yeah. And so I think, maybe also when you talk longevity, many people think, longevity is about living forever. Well, eventually it might be, but I think what we focus on right now, it's really extending the health span. And there is definitely a win-win. So I would say it's a triple win. It's a win-win-win. I mean, one win is you make people happier and healthier. Yeah. Second win is, yes, there is a lot of business opportunities and you can build great companies. And the third one is, and I think that's underestimated, we probably make society, how shall I say, a much more, a better place in a way. Healthcare costs will go down. pension funds right now, I mean, they're all like frightened about people who are living longer and longer, but also there will be solutions. But let's be honest, if you are 75 and you're top fit and you're in the body of a 40-year-old, yeah, I don't think that you want to be pensioned. You might just want to, you know, look for a different work. So I believe one of the topics we have to look at is, you know, ongoing education, lifelong learning. But I do not think that people look for a pension fund when they're 65, you know, in 20 years from now. So together with that, I think we can build as a society something super strong, where we do not just say, oh, the old people, we must take care of them. The old people will take care of themselves because they don't feel old.
Yeah, you know, I often suggest that maybe a good thing to do when you get to 65 and you're still healthy is become an entrepreneur. So, because you might have a completely different perspective on things, and especially things related to aging that other people don't have. So, and someday I want to start a entrepreneurship program for people over 65 to empower older people. But that's another point. When it comes to the two companies, it seems like the two you've started with look like they're in the sort of things you can do now or in the near future space. Is that where you're entirely focused, or if the right moonshot comes along, or you're willing to wait 10 years for it to develop?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, you also have to look at us from the investor perspective. So we are building this longevity co-investment fund. Mm-hmm. And if I would tell our investors, hey, we only do moonshots, you trust us, if we call you in 10 years, yeah, it's so what we do right now is we say, hey, look, there is great business opportunities in the field of longevity right now, where we expect cash flows in 6 months or in 12 months, yeah. This allows us then also to say, and by the way, now look, we also invest in this moonshot where we do not expect any returns in the next years. Yeah. Important though to say, having no cash flow doesn't mean you're not successful. You know, the valuation of your company might go up, very fast if you're on the right track. If you make progress there. So, but I think that's what I said. It's a combination. So we are, and this is a bit against my presentation before, but right now we are working on some ideas in a bit more stealth mode. I'm happy to share that with you on bilaterally, where we say, hey, this might be something, but you know, we as Maximon don't want to go out with it before we are not sure that yes, we want to engage. So that's what we call our validation phase, where we try to understand, does this really make sense? Yeah, before we start building a team then.
Do you have a strategy toward exits for companies you invest in? I mean, there's some funds are looking for relatively early exits and you know, fast turnaround of multiples, and a lot of companies are looking to go public and be the next Apple in this space, right? What's your is it a one size fits all approach for you, or are you looking to be specific for each company?
That's the luxury of being a company builder. And so we are not a venture fund where we need to show exits after year 5 and in year 10 we need to be done. Mm-hmm. So we have a bit of a tailor-made approach. It might be that in one company we say, hey, why should we go out ever? And in another one, if extremely good, you know, de-SPAC offer comes as a takeover from a listed company, you might do this after 4 years. Yeah? So it's a question of the team. As I said at the beginning, in the companies we build, the team holds 50%. So, you know, of course, the team must talk with us as the company builder and the investor, but it's also a bit what they want to do. You know, I mean, I'm invested in another completely different company where I see that the team wants to do an exit now, even though me as an investor, I see far more upside potential. But I have the feeling that that team is a little bit, well, tired maybe, and saying, hey, we would be happy to go under the roof of a bigger organization now. And so as an investor, I only can support it, because why should I tell them you must go on? They will not be successful with it. Huh? So the tailor-made approach, being a company builder, allows you to work very closely together with the specific team, and not just put them into a corset saying, hey, in year 7, you must do an exit no matter what would happen in year 8 or 9.
Yeah, I think one of the fears that academics have when they partner at this early stage is that they're going to lose control of what's going on, and that they're, you know, in a year, they're not going to be making decisions about where the research is going and where the company is going. What do you tell people when they have that fear? I hear that all the time with professors.
Yeah. And in a way, I don't say it's absolutely wrong. I mean, what is the challenge you have of being the business person or the scientist? The scientist might die in beauty, if I may formulate it like this. Saying, hey, this is great science, what we do, and I want to have the 100% solution. And maybe a product or a solution gets over-engineered. On the other side, you have the business person who might say, hey, time to market. Yeah, you have heard it 6 times in my presentation. Yeah. Let's do something. What can we bring out? Yeah, and the scientist might say, yeah, but it's not yet where we should be. So you need to find a middle ground, a solution which works for both. And that's why we have in our team scientists. We have a chief science officer, Ashish. He's a translator as well. He speaks the scientific language. He had done his PhD and postdoc in the field of longevity. And he also needs to talk to our company architects on what is possible. No, we cannot go out with that yet. It might not really be proven enough or whatever. At the end of the day, you are a company. In this company, you have shareholders. As I said, team has 50%. So the team has a very strong say. Yeah. But you also formulate a so-called shareholders agreement where you agree on certain points. And you have a business plan. And if the business plan says, in year 3 or 4, we should go to market, and the team says it's in year 5, well, that might be acceptable. If they come back and say, it's year 10, you have to speak.
I'll ask one more question before I go to Max, because you mentioned business plan. What are you looking for in a business plan at this early stage? I see these business plans for these startups, and they have financial projections that are, there's no way to put a real financial projection at that stage often. And so a lot of these numbers are hard to get your head around. What is the key thing you're looking for when you look at one of these business plans?
To be honest, I do not look at the Excel sheet with first priority. Because you can prove me anything with your Excel sheet, and I can prove you the opposite. Yeah. It's some parameters you twist.
Yeah.
At Maximon, as I said, we have a super easy formula. Entrepreneurs get 50%, Maximon gets 25%, our investment fund gets 25%, no matter what the valuation of the company might be. Yeah? So it's a bit of a take or leave. And why do we do it like this? For us, it's interesting. Who is the team, number one? Secondly, what's the idea? Is there a market for it? If we find validation for, yes, that team works and this idea works, then we are full steam going ahead and want to build something big. Yeah. And, if it's something big, then the team has 50% of something big. If it's something small, the team has 50% of something small. Yeah. Yeah. I don't want to go into the nitty-gritty negotiation whether the startup, which is maybe on day one, just a stack of paper as a business plan, is 3.9 million worth. And in 5 years, it's $1 billion. We will see.
Yeah. Well, let me bring in Max, because it seems like we have a lot of questions.
Yeah, we do have some questions, and maybe one that ties a little bit into what you were just talking about. Like some people were already almost starting pitching ideas in the Q&A. And my question in their name would probably be, when they reach out to you as Maximon, what do you want to see first? You want to just get an email and say, I have an idea, or do you want to get an email where you have a 10-slide pitch deck, or you want to have an email with a full-fledged business plan in there already?
Yeah, I mean, look, for us, the best thing indeed is the 10-slide business plan, not your PhD thesis on it. But really short and concise, what you're up to, what's the idea? Is there already a team or not? It doesn't have to be a team. It can be a single entrepreneur with a great business idea. For us, it's interesting to understand what is it about, and is this person credible enough, that she or he stands fully behind that business idea. So that's the most important thing. And then, if we say, yes, that's a topic which is interesting to us, we will reach out and agree on a phone call, trying to learn a bit more.
Awesome, cool. I hope that's helpful for those folks. Then we have another question from Kial, who wants to know, how does your equity approach work when dealing with IP tech transfer from universities?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we would love to have a one-fits-all approach. Unfortunately, universities don't have. Universities have normally a transfer desk where they have pretty clear ideas on what happens if they license out IP, or if a postdoc wants to do a spin-off or so. So we look at that. I mean, we look at the proposal, we bring in our own 5 cents. I think for us, it's very important that we do not only have then the right, how shall I say, the right of the specific idea, but really then also the next, the next topics coming up in this line of research. That's interesting to us. But yeah, we work together with universities and we work together on IP. That's it. Yeah.
Another question is from David, and is there anything particular that Maximon is looking for when it comes to helping entrepreneurs develop their product?
That's a very general question, I think. As I said in the presentation before, for us, we work together with the entrepreneurs. We do not expect them to have everything at hand and fully ready. We want to sit together. So we will see what is there and what is missing, and whatever is missing, we try to bring to the table if we like the idea. We might bring team members to the table, funding, find the right partners. So it's very, very specific and tailor-made. We look at who is there with what idea and what is missing, and let's bring this all together. That's our job as a company builder.
Maybe let's dive a little bit like in the biological intricacies of like longevity companies. And it's a question from Ming, and it's for longevity industry. My concern is that it's very difficult to prove that the interventions that work in model animals also work in humans. How do you overcome this?
Yeah, I mean, the problem is that our lifespan is too long to make big tests right now. No. So yeah, you do studies. You try to do studies with humans where, for example, you say, did the blood values change? You work with Harvard clocks and other parameters you want to test. It's not always possible. I mean, if you have a C. elegans study and it works, it doesn't mean that it works on mice. And when it works on mice, it doesn't mean it works on humans. So the problem you often have is that, yes, there is studies, but number of participants are small. I think the most important thing, what we at Maximon here say is, whatever company we build, it cannot hurt people. So it should at least not have any negative side effects. And this is something you need to find proof for before you can start doing a business around that. But it's also true that do you want to wait until you always have the 100% certainty with, peer tests and studies and blind studies and everything? Well, that might make you very slow. And so again, it's finding the middle way, middle way of not hurting anybody, having enough scientific grounds that you basically say, yes, it will work. Yeah. And then on the go, getting better, making more studies and so on. But we are early, we all know this. But if it's a bit like Tesla. I like this comparison. Tesla said, hey, we have a self-driving car, but don't let it self-drive. And what people did is, they tried it out, and Tesla was gathering a lot of data, and by now it's quite a good self-driving car. So I think, with the enthusiasts here in the longevity field, we can tell them what is this product very transparently. What is the pros, what might be potential cons, and if you want to try it, share the data with us.
Yeah, I think that's particularly relevant in the supplement space, because you have a huge industry on anti-aging already in the supplement space. A lot of it, I would argue, is not really tested, certainly not with modern measures of aging. And for a long time, academic scientists kind of stayed out of that for the large part because the reputation it had. And so now what's happened is a lot of people, including my lab, have gotten into this space, and we're trying to put science in it and really take things to market that work. I think the challenge is that, it's not like a clinic, it's not like a new drug where you're going to spend $200 million to get it approved. You have to go to market much faster in this space. So you have to make choices about what data is sufficient and how to inform people about what you know. And I think we're all learning how to do that. I mean, with Avia, you mentioned that you're trying to, do it from a scientific approach. And so that means doing clinical studies. Is that what?
Yeah. I mean, we wish to come with a whole plethora of products to the market as fast as we can, and it will be possible. Production is not very difficult. Yeah. Mm. But what we do in reality is we say, well, let's start with one and then a second product. Yeah. We also don't bring this one pill fits all product. I mean, there is some in the market where take one pill and you have your spermidine and resveratrol and whatever in one, and also all the vitamins you need. And yeah, that would be cool. Yeah. But I think it's not yet really proven that it really works if you take it all in one. It might even have effects which cancel each other out. So that's not what we are doing. Not to mention there's some physics involved. If the pill's this size and they say it has 12 things in it, you have to start asking questions about how much of each product is actually present. And I think that's there is a mass issue, but that's another discussion. Max, do you have other questions?
Yeah, sure. Maybe Singapore and Switzerland, they have a lot of commonalities. Like they're very business friendly. They're often on the forefront of new technologies, be it crypto friendly or now longevity friendly. Could you maybe speak a little bit about the similarities between Switzerland and Singapore, and maybe also where their approaches differ?
Yeah, well, I agree. I think it's no surprise that with many of the companies I'm involved, we went first when we went outside Switzerland. We went to Singapore. Singapore is the easy door to Asia, and I do also see a lot of similarities. It's small states, they move fast, they bring you a lot of legal security as well, which is super important if you want to build companies and startups and so on. I think certain differences there are. Yeah? Switzerland probably has a less open approach to latest technology and has, as it is, a super great democracy, often people interfering. I'm talking about genetically modified products. The Swiss people vote about that stuff and say, no, we don't want it. And then, universities can think whether they want to move their labs and so on. So I would say, these countries are great places for entrepreneurs. They bring everything you need. As I said, legal security, they bring capital, they have great universities. So I do believe that, our two countries working together here makes a lot of sense.
We have a question from Julia, and she wants to know, could you maybe share your thoughts about why big pharma companies are a little bit hesitant to enter the longevity field?
Yeah, well, two things. One, they shoot a little bit in their own leg. If we all get super healthy, we will not have a lot of cancer, which is great, but that might not be so great for some blockbusters of these companies. Mm-hmm. Nevertheless, they, of course, should do it. So the other thing is, and that's in all industries like this, it's an automatic reaction that you protect what you have. Look at the leading typewriter companies. It was an Italian company called Olivetti. It was the market leader in Europe for typewriters. And then personal computers came. Olivetti said, no, we don't want that. It kills our business. Yes, it killed their business, but instead of moving into it, they just looked how they were made obsolete. And so I think, for pharmaceutical companies, some large players, they might also say, well, let's see how this evolves and eventually we get in. And that's good. They have the money then to say, let's acquire that startup for $1 billion or so, and then everybody is happy. But it's not normal for them to move so early. I haven't seen it in many industries that the old market leaders move into the new fields early on. That's just not happening.
Well, thanks a lot, Tobias. This was a great discussion, and thanks for coming on the show. I want to remind people they can use the panelists and all attendees button to make comments about the show. Next week, we're going to have Andrei Gudkov, who's a scientist at Roswell Park Comprehensive Cancer Center, who's did not give us a title, so I can't get it wrong. But I'm going to guess that the title is something to do with cell senescence, DNA damage, retrotransposons, and aging. And he's certainly a leader in that field, and he'll be telling us about how to modify those pathways to live a longer, healthier life. We wanted to give you an idea of what age regression might look like, and we can't quite do that from the biomedical side right now, but TikTok can, so we're turning to them to show you age regression. Thanks for joining the show. Come back June 3rd.
No matter how far, no matter wherever you are, I'm with you. Deep in your heart, my love, I'll stay when I'm away. No matter how far, no matter how long, no matter the time that has gone between us. Oh, darling, I'm yours and I'm yours alone. Oh, I'll always come home. No matter how long, I'm yours alone. I'll always come home, no matter how long.
I'm feeling like sunshine, like springtime. Like something's in the water and I'm taking a deep dive. I'm feeling so weightless, like I'm gonna make it. And nothing in the universe can take this. I can see it clearly now. Nothing gonna bring me down.